What's up, fellas? Welcome to a brand new episode of The Sports Student. My name is Wendell Epps, aka The Sports Student. In today's podcast, I'll be interviewing Remi Monaghan. Remi currently works as a sports director at KTEN, and in this podcast, Remi will talk about her experiences working in the sports media industry and also share some tips and tricks on how to succeed in the industry as a whole. So sit back, relax, enjoy the podcast, and without further ado, this is a sports student interview with Remi Monaghan. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Sports Student. My name is Wendell Epps. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Remi Monaghan. Remi, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Hello. I hope you guys are doing well out there, wherever you're listening.
Well, first things first, how are you doing and how's your summer been going?
You know what? Summer officially ends for me on Monday because that's when 2 days start in Texas. So it's been a good summer. We got about a solid 6 weeks from the time baseball season ended until now. So played a lot of golf, sat by the pool, took a couple of trips, and it's really the only downtime we get throughout the whole year. So I tried to soak it up as much as possible. But I want to say thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to have you. So first thing first, if you can just give the audience a quick little background of who you are, where you started, and where you are now.
Yeah. So like you said, my name is Remi. I was born and raised in Metro Detroit and graduated from Michigan State in 2019. So only pretty fresh into the TV business, but I've worked a lot over the last 2 years and really over the last 6 to 7 years. I had 5 different internships while I was in college and worked with BTN Student U along with taking classes. So I dove right into working in TV and getting my feet wet in that industry. And then for 2 years, I was a sports reporter and weekend anchor here at KTEN News in Denison, Texas, which is the NBC ABC affiliate. We're just about an hour north of Dallas and about 2 hours south of Oklahoma City. We sit right on the border of those two states. And then in March, I got promoted to sports director. So been an interesting couple of months trying to get into that new role and train my new reporter. And like I said, football starts on Monday. So we're about to get into the thick of it real quickly.
Yeah, I can't wait for football to be back. I have to ask you, how's it like living in Texas now?
It's been warm. Definitely, especially this summer has been relatively cool. And when I say cool, I mean low 90s, which is nice. But the past couple of days, it's been a little toasty. So we've gotten, get used to that heat a little, but I like it. It's not, I'm not shoveling snow in February, so I can't complain too much about that. But it's been a good little change of scenery. A couple of my internships, I lived in Pittsburgh and I lived in DC. So, and then along with obviously going to school in Michigan and being raised there. So I've kind of been not all over the place, but I've lived a couple of different places, and Texas has been good to me so far.
Well, that's awesome to hear. And you being promoted to being a sports director, how cool is that? Being able to get promoted so early too in your career.
It was a little interesting, but it's kind of weird because at my station, it's kind of the norm. Normally, whoever the reporter is will take over when the sports director leaves, unless they stay for whatever reason. We're on 2-year contracts, so typically it's a 2-year cycle. And so I was kind of expecting that to happen. I wasn't super set on becoming a sports director, actually, because I really like to be a reporter. I like to be out in the field and be with coaches and players and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, with COVID, the job market was not as plentiful, I guess you could say, as it once was. And so it was do I stay and get really incredible experience being a sports director at the age of 24, or do I possibly become unemployed and who knows when I could possibly get hired again. So I resigned for 1 more year to become the sports director. So I'll be in Texoma for a total of 3 years. But it's been interesting, like I said, to navigate this area of my life, I guess, because, everybody's coming to me for what they want for sports. What games are we covering? What's important? What's going on? So it's definitely been weird to kind of switch off that reporter hat versus that anchor and director hat. Cause obviously now I'm anchoring 5 days a week, whereas I used to only anchor on the weekends. And so it's a little bit of a different dynamic, but it's definitely been fun. And I like the kind of leadership aspect of it as well. Obviously, I have one person who directly reports to me, but then when it comes to football season, I have about 7 or 8 other reporters who shoot football for me on Friday nights. So they're coming to me with questions as well. And I held a lot of leadership roles in college. So I think having that experience was so beneficial when I took over with this job.
Yeah, it's definitely important. Like having that leadership experience in college, getting those reps early, it'll help you too in the long run. So like, is there a normal day for you with your job, or is like every day is just so different?
It depends on the season, to be honest. Like football season, you kind of get into this regiment. Basketball you do, baseball you do in the summer is really chill and nice because you are so tunnel visioned and so like, okay, I just got to get through this next show. I just got to get through today. And then we're, to tomorrow and this weekend and this tournament and whatever. But so today, for example, was a little more relaxed. I came in at about 2:30 or 3:00. We have a show at 5. Typically I'm in the show at 6, 9, and 10. But today, with the SEC vote that happened this afternoon, and then also the NBA draft is today. I'm sure there's people who are going to watch this later. So that's to give you a reference. That's what day we're working with today. So I did a hit also in the 5:00 show, which typically I don't normally do, but today kind of warranted it because there's so much going on. And then I did my normal show and our 6:00 show. And then I will have different stuff that I turn for 9 and 10, which obviously will be a lot of Cade Cunningham and the number 1 pick in the the NBA draft and the SEC stuff, Cowboys training camp. Also, we're an NBC station and it's Olympic season. So I'm not required to like run Olympic stuff, but obviously like Suni Lee won the gold medal last night in the all around. And there is the 200-meter breaststroke right now with Lily King. So there's a lot, going on with Olympics. So that's kind of what my day looks like. But yesterday, for example, we got up early and shot our Texas high school preview show. So that is going to air at the end of August, but we pre-tape all of the like intro, outro stuff. And we do it at one of our high school football fields. It changes every year. And so we did that yesterday morning. And then kind of as I get into football season, there's more pre-filming stuff and like editing stuff that goes on a daily basis.
That's awesome to hear. It seems like there's a lot of stuff you cover. How would you describe like Texas sports in general? What's the identity of Texas sports to you?
So I'm really lucky. I get both Texas and Oklahoma. And so it's pretty intense. Obviously you can imagine if you've ever watched Friday Night Lights or anything like that, it's pretty true. Like, especially I grew up in Michigan and athletics are a big deal, especially, football and hockey and all that kind of stuff. But my first ever high school football game that I covered here at KTEN was the longest running rivalry in the state of Texas. At the time, it was 121 years old. And there are upwards of 10,000 people that pack themselves like sardines into a football stadium. And it was live broadcasted by Fox Sports Southwest. And I was like, oh my God, what is going on? Like my boss at the time tried to prepare me. It was like, there's a lot of people. There's like bands and cheerleaders and dancers and fans. And I mean, people have like season tickets to these schools because a season ticket guarantees you a ticket to this particular game. If they don't go to a single other game the rest of the season, they're going to Battle of the Axe. So it's very intense. And then when you get football, obviously too, in Oklahoma is a really big deal, but basketball in Oklahoma is, it's another world. So between the two states, I would say 40% of our high schools are in Texas and 60% are in Oklahoma. And then I also cover 2 D2 colleges, a D3 college, and then 2 junior colleges. And then we also sprinkle in pro teams from both Dallas and Oklahoma City. So there's quite a bit of coverage going on in the KTEN sports department.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, it's great that you have like all those like crazy rivalries going on, all these different teams. I mean, it just makes it more fun in general, Very
fun. And you're always doing something, like it's never, the summer gets a little slow because a lot of our coverage is high school and they're out of school during the summer. But like I said, you're kind of catching your breath a little because football bleeds into basketball, which then bleeds into baseball and softball season. And then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh my God, it's June. So it's been interesting for sure.
That's awesome to hear. And like, I want to like ask you, like, how are you like growing up? Where did this love for like sports and sports media, where did it all come from?
Yeah, I played sports growing up. My parents did too. My brother did. But specifically, I was a cheerleader. I started when I was in second grade, I think. And it was just like, city league stuff, doing cheerleading at football games. And I had a lot of friends that played on the football team specifically. And I was like, what are they doing? I was like looking over to like on the field when a lot of the girls were just like, looking around or waving at their parents. I was like, what's going on over there? And my dad and my mom actually was like a quarterback, like on her junior high football team, which is low key really cool. My dad played baseball also. So big sports family in general, but that's how I learned to play or learned the game of football, was by watching as a cheerleader. And then I became a competitive cheerleader. I played softball for a little while. Now I play golf. Also, I started as a caddy actually when I was 14. That was besides babysitting, that was my first real job where I got a paycheck. So my love of golf has grown over the last decade, which has been really fun. And we always had games on the TV, especially in the summer, it was Tigers baseball. At the time, the Tigers were really good. The Pistons winning the championship in 2004 was super fun for me as well. I was pretty little, but I still have memories of that. The Lions are the Lions. So,
we don't need to talk about the Lions.
Yeah, it's all right. Although I have a lot of faith in Dan Campbell. I think he's, fingers crossed, going to bring a little bit of spark maybe to the team this year. I don't know. We'll see.
Hopefully.
And then the Red Wings too, my whole childhood, I got pulled out of school. My dad, when they won the cup in, it's embarrassing, I don't remember. I want to say 2008. I'm early aughts. My dad pulled me out of school, my brother and I, so that we could go to the parade when they came back with the Stanley Cup. So we always had games on, and my parents also always had the news on. So I always was watching news, and then, sports is somewhat halfway through the newscast. And so I always saw Dan Miller on Fox 2 in Detroit talking about sports. And so just kind of was a natural progression. And then in high school, we had a TV productions class actually. And so I took that class all 4 years of high school, had an incredible teacher, and he used to work in local TV for a hot minute. And then he became a teacher, and that's what he teaches in English as well. But so, yeah, it was just, I don't know, there was never really like a question in my mind that I wasn't going to work in. I always wanted to work in TV, always.
That's fantastic, because there's a lot of people that don't know what they want to do for a long time.
My brother's one of them. And honestly, he's just kind of now figuring it out. He was a caddy with me also, and now works on the grounds crew at the golf course that we both caddied at. And he has kind of now decided, he's 20. Hold on. He'll be 22 in October. I had to think about how old I am. But he just is now getting into the stage of his life where he realizes what he really wants to do. And so I think if there's anybody watching who is like, oh my God, I have to have this figured out. Like, no, you don't. No, I truly am like an oddball in that I always had that. And that it worked out for me. People have dreams and goals and stuff all the time, and they just don't work out, or they don't work out exactly how you wanted them to. And you are the majority in that situation. So don't feel like you have to have this incredible 5 or 10-year plan and that it has to be followed to a T, because you can do anything, especially people who work in sports. There's so many different things you could do on air, off air, with communications, with management, with the players, with, sales and marketing and all of that kind of stuff. And don't think you have to have it all figured out right now.
No, that's great advice, Remi, because there's so many things you can do in the sports media industry, and then goes for other careers as well. You don't have to rush, take your time. But what would be the biggest piece of advice that you would give to any college student that's trying to get into the sports media industry specifically?
Ask. That's the biggest thing you can do. If you see somebody doing a job that you think you might want, or, an internship or something, go up to them, introduce yourself and say, hey, I have kind of seen what you've been doing and I'm really interested. Are there other positions, or are you graduating soon? Can I take your role? Because obviously in colleges, kids are coming in and out all the time. So they're always looking for people to replace, those people who are graduating, or go up to the person who's in charge and just introduce yourself and say, I don't really know exactly how you might need some help, but I would love to be that person to do it. And the worst thing they can say is no, or not right now. but maybe next school year or next semester, or, send me your resume. I don't know if anything is up or available right this minute, but I'll look into it for you or something. And be persistent in that. You can be a little selfish in a good way, obviously, when it comes to what you want, but also if you aren't 100% set on a certain area, and even if you are, I really suggest that you branch out and get experience in other places. Like one of my internships was doing social media. That was my first ever like big girl internship. I worked for the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2017 when they won the Stanley Cup. And I had social media experience running my own accounts, but I had never ran a team account or anything like that. Honestly, thank God the Pens took a chance on me, because and I really don't know why they did. I mean, I'm thankful for it, don't get me wrong, but I had no experience. And so I was in charge of a Snapchat account at the time when Snapchat was like the peak. There was no Instagram stories, it was Snapchat stories. And I was running the Snapchat account during the Stanley Cup final. I mean, like, it was insane. So I loved my experience there. When I worked for DC United, I was doing strictly video. Like I was doing some on-air stuff more from my reel and for like my own experience, but I was cutting like promo videos and highlights and like post-game, like recap stuff, more of like in-depth video than I do now. But again, that was something I was like, I don't really know that I want to do this long-term, but it can't hurt for me to get experience doing this. Same thing if you want to be like do print journalism or get into communications, or even if you don't want to be on air, like doing stats, working in the SID's office, writing game recaps, like doing all that stuff, because someday you might get a job or see a job application and be like, oh, okay, I don't really have like a ton of experience doing that, but I do have a little bit. And maybe that might be the thing that sets you apart from the other people who are applying for that job or for that internship. So my biggest advice is to kind of dip your toe into a couple of different things and just see what sticks, especially, and that can even too be with college classes. Like if you aren't sure, exactly what you want to do when it comes to journalism or communications or sports management or whatever, you got to take the classes anyway, right? Like you got to get a certain amount of credits. So like, who cares if by the end of the semester, you're like, yeah, I really didn't like that one, but I got something out of it. It can't hurt, so that's my thought on it, at least.
Yeah, no, I love that. Like taking advantage of your opportunities, because you never know what's going to come next and you never know what opportunities you're going to get. But I have to ask you, like you doing the social media accounts, like let's talk a little bit about social media. Like how have you seen it taking over the sports media industry?
It's definitely interesting, especially like I said, from when that was in 2017.
Yeah.
Which we're coming up on like 5 years, which makes me feel real old, which is weird. Anyway, then just did that math in my head for a second. But at the time, like I said, Snapchat stories were the peak of entertainment on social media. Obviously people were on Twitter and Instagram was a thing, maybe Instagram stories had just started.
I feel like it started around 2017, 2018.
I don't even know. I was not doing it, at least for our account. I remember Snapchat being like the main focus, especially for 25 to 35 or 20 to 35 age range and that kind of stuff. So, but seeing Instagram stories take off and like the analytics and stuff that it comes to that, I love the way Twitter, especially in the sports world, I know Twitter can be, for some things and like some people, Twitter can be really toxic, but the side of Twitter I'm on is great.
You're on the good side.
Come join us over here. So, but even like fleets are new, even though I think they might be getting rid of them. But, I think that the way people go to Twitter for news and for updates on stuff and what they're kind of looking for, people our age. But the way TikTok has taken off, I mean, hello, like that's pretty cool to see that kind of flourish, and the way people have also used that as a news platform now too. I have a lot of friends that do daily updates on TikTok, or they're posting breaking news kind of things on their pages on there because they have a pretty big following. So that has been really interesting for me to see. And it kind of keeps you on your toes a little bit. You're like, okay, what's new now? Like, what do I have to be doing? Or, but I also like that for social media, you can make it your own. You can make it whatever you want it to be. So like I have a TikTok account, but I'm not posting like hard sports news on it necessarily. I'm posting like cute videos of me like getting ready for work, or I did one jokingly with the audio of "That's enough slices." That one, if you're familiar with it.
I'm familiar with that one. Yes.
Yeah. Yesterday when there was like which I honestly, I could make it again today because there's been so much sports news that has come out in the last 2 days. And I was like, oh, I still am a little overwhelmed. I was like, that's enough slices. Like we've had enough for the day. But yeah, it's been really cool to see. And I think, like I said, the making all of your social media platforms, whatever you want them to be, is why people will start to follow you.
That's true. I think that's like the most positive, like just like viewpoint of social media I've ever heard. Like seriously, it's just like you made it sound so positive, which is like great because like you're right. Social media is like how you make it. You know.
I mean, yeah. Do I have people like I posted the other night when Simone said that she was not going to compete in the all around? It was right before I'd gone to bed, and I just shared a quick link from USA Today or NBC or whatever, just saying that, she was out. And I woke up the next morning and somebody was like, who cares? And I was like, I don't care about you. Like, you're kind of irrelevant to me. I didn't ask for your feedback. And if you don't like Simone Biles, that's your problem. And to be honest, your loss for not liking such an incredible human being. But there's, some negative sides. Have I gotten creepy messages from people? I'm a woman, so yeah. But like I said, social media is what you make of it. And for me right now, I enjoy I know there's people who don't, but I enjoy using social media. And until that changes, it's going to be the same way.
That's awesome. What's your favorite social media platform?
Professionally, Twitter and Instagram for obvious reasons. My Instagram also is a little more of I don't have two separate accounts. I have just one, which that was a decision I made when I was in college that I wanted to keep it kind of open, because I wanted to start a following before I graduated school. So that way I had some base when I graduated, and that way, whether or not people follow me or unfollow me, that's their choice. But I kind of wanted it to be, and same thing with my Twitter. So professionally, it's a tie between those two, but personally, or just for fun, TikTok, I almost every night I fall asleep watching TikToks. So
I love that.
It keeps me young, as I say that when I'm 24, like I'm a freaking
you're still young, early 20s.
I feel so old though. Nah. Sometimes I'm like, what are you guys talking? Like when we tried to get rid of the laughing crying emoji, I was like, why? What's wrong with it? Like, who did it hurt? Why can't we stop? Like, I was real confused about it.
Well, I'm gonna have to put you on the spot there too, because you mentioned Twitter and Instagram being a tie. If you keep one though, if you had to get rid of one, which one are you getting rid of?
Probably Instagram.
Yeah,
I like what it is. There's a lot of changes happening with it right now. I guess they just came out and said that they don't want it to be a photo sharing platform anymore. Then I'm like, so what are y'all supposed to be?
Yeah, exactly.
I know you guys, there's reels and I know they have the shopping feature and stuff. I have never bought anything off of Instagram. So I don't, are there really that many people who do it?
I've never done that. I never will do that.
And maybe because I'm a girl too, I follow some bloggers who post cute outfits or whatever, but I'm not buying it right off of Insta, I'm going to the website. I don't know, whatever. It's a whole thing. So I think there's some good and bad parts about Instagram, but I think Twitter, like I said, for the communities that you can find within Twitter, for me at least, are really fun. I have so many female friends that are sports anchors and reporters, or who work in sports in general, all over the country, who I have never met in person. And to be honest, I probably will never meet them in person just because of where we live, but I would consider them my really good friends. And so that part of the social media world, especially Twitter for me, has been really cool to find this group of women. And I have several guy friends. And I should give a shout out to my buddy Brian, because he worked in the market just about 2 hours away from me here in Texas. And we were both sports anchors. And we both worked at similar stations where we were sharing video with each other. And so we became friends that way, just professionally. And then he played golf, I played golf. We have the same sense of humor, whatever. So now we're doing all this stuff. I'm going to his wedding in December. It's this really cool, friendship that I had from Twitter. So also I met my boyfriend through Twitter. So I have to, that makes it a little more special for me too.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Twitter, the creation of romance.
I know. We got to give our 7-year-long relationship credit to Twitter.
That's amazing. 7 years. That's fantastic.
I know.
So moving on, like, how would you describe yourself in front of the camera when you're reporting? How would you describe yourself like in front of the camera?
Really good question. I try to be fun and obviously informative. I think there's always, I wish I had a little more, not energy necessarily, but I wish I had a little more like charisma, or like I was a little more like funny. Sometimes when I'm on camera, I'm like, I want people to know what's going on. And so I'm like, here's what's happening. Like I'm not like a zombie on camera by any means, but I think I have a really good presence when it comes to that combo of being really energetic and also giving the people what they want to know. Yep. So that part for me has been fun. And it's been interesting to see how my anchoring skills have progressed in the last, I don't know, 5 months or whatever it's been, because like I said, I only anchored twice a week, or used to. And so to be honest, I wasn't making anchoring a priority at that time in my career, because I was reporting more often than I was anchoring. And I like anchoring more now, but I definitely prefer to be out live at a game or something. And so, like I said, that progression of my anchoring skills have been pretty interesting for me. And it's been cool to kind of see it progress. And even my boss has said, like, your anchoring has gotten a lot better since you started anchoring 5 days a week. And so part of that is just that I'm doing it, 3 or 4 times a day, 5 days a week. And so that practice obviously helps. But also, I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, when you're an anchor versus being a reporter, you kind of wear 2 different hats of like how your brain thinks of building a show and what you want in the show and what's important and all of that kind of stuff. And so to kind of put my reporter hat away for a little bit and put my anchor hat on has been pretty interesting. But obviously it's good skills that I'm going to be taking with me throughout the rest of my career. And so it's been a fun little journey for me.
That's fantastic. Do you remember the first time you anchored?
Oh, it was a nightmare. I purposely did not save that video because it was
really
dumpster fire.
You don't want to look back on it, like, for memories?
No, and it's long gone now, thank God. But I didn't anchor a lot in college. So when I got here, I'm not even kidding, I think I had anchored twice, 3 times in college. That's even pushing it. I was all live. I was a total reporter in college. And my bosses knew that coming in, so that wasn't a surprise. I had lots of practice, like the week leading up to my first show by myself. But we have foot pedals that run our prompter here. Some stations have like a controller. We have the pedal. And my foot was like, I was so anxious and so nervous. My foot was like this on the, I couldn't even I did press the pedal, but my foot was just like going up and down because I was so nervous. It was yeah, I don't even know. Like, I'm glad we don't have that. I mean, actually, it might be funny to look back on, but it was a little bit of a rough go for sure.
Well, what was your most memorable experience? Either like reporting in the field, anchoring. You have any memorable moment that just
quite
sticks with you?
Yeah, I've covered 4 football state championship games, 2 winners, 2 losers. In Texas, they play at AT&T Stadium, which is really freaking cool. And in Oklahoma, the last couple of years in Oklahoma, they play at UCO. So that's a really awesome stadium outside too. So any state championship, especially too, you get that deep into the season with a particular team or a couple different teams, you're invested. As long as you try to be like, quote unquote, unbiased, you want, especially at the high school level, you want to see those kids win. And you're rooting for them. Every touchdown, you're secretly yelling, yes, yes, while you're holding the camera, you're like, yeah. And so that part has been super fun for me. I love the relationships I built with players and coaches all over my area. I had one, because we're working on football stuff. And so I had said, oh, hey, we're going to be here at your school on this day next week. Our sports reporter, Kinsey, will be there because I have to go to some different schools. And I typically used to be up in Oklahoma all the time because I was the reporter. And unfortunately, now being the anchor, I can't drive as far away because I have to be here to anchor every night. And so all the relationships I built with those coaches, they're like, wait, you're not coming this year? Like, you're not going to, and I'm like, you're all gonna make me cry. Like, I can't, I was like, one of my coaches yesterday almost made me cry because I was like, I'm really sad. I'm not going to see you guys anymore. But I'm excited for my reporter to have those opportunities. But yeah, the state championships are always really fun. Big 12 media days are really fun for me also, because it's like the one time a year I get to see all my media friends that work in this area and meet some new people. And it's not casual by any means, but it's a relatively easy day. So you have deadlines, but it's not like really, really intense for the most part. So you get to have a little bit of fun and just like, chill and edit, and you get to see all the coaches and players also from the teams. But I think my favorite, or one of my like top 3 favorite stories I ever did was last fall, was Bryce Biros. It's on my Facebook and my Twitter if y'all ever want to go watch it. But he's a student at I think he actually is going to be a freshman this year at Gunner High School, but he was in middle school last year. And he has a rare disorder that is a degenerative disease. And so he's been in a wheelchair for the last 5 years, and he was really active as a young kid, but hasn't been able to play sports for a while. And he's been a manager for the middle school football team, and his dad makes sure that he's on the field in his wheelchair and stuff, and takes him down the sideline with the team. But his buddies on the team last fall said, we want Bryce to get back on the field and we want him to score a touchdown. And it was really special when I found that out, that the kids, because a lot of, some of those situations are organized by parents or coaches, and it was his buddies and his best friend that wanted that to happen for him. And it was a surprise to his parents and to everybody in the stands. And obviously it was really emotional. So we have great video of that. And then I got to chat with Bryce and his family and his best friend who made it happen. And I was really proud of that story, the way it turned out. And I see Bryce and his family pretty often, actually, still at games and stuff. And so I always make it a point to go over and say hi. And I follow him, his mom and I we follow each other on Instagram and stuff too. So I always see pictures of him, and he is the sweetest personality. And his family has been really incredible through such adversity, especially his disease is relatively rare. And the struggles that they've had to face of finding a house that doesn't have stairs, and, making sure things are wheelchair accessible for him. And even a couple of weeks ago, they went on vacation, and he went down the water slide and stuff, and his dad, was there at the end of the slide to catch him. And it's cool to make sure, or to see that his parents are still making sure that he's being a normal kid and having those experiences and stuff. So I think that's probably like my favorite story I've ever covered.
That's amazing. That's like such a great story. And that's like the beauty of working in the sports media industry. You have a chance to tell these amazing stories. So like, what advice would you give to anyone that's like trying to work on the field as a reporter? Like, how can you find good stories? And like, what do you think makes like a good reporter in general?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for stories is like talking to the people who maybe you wouldn't always think are good sources necessarily. Or like, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense the way I worded it, but like, I've gotten a lot of stories from like the guy who runs the ticket table at football games, or, the grandma who takes pictures or something along those lines, because a lot of stories, like even the Bryce story, for example, his best friend's mom was the one who emailed the video to our station, because in a situation like that, or even, if a kid's having an incredible record-breaking season, they don't really want to brag on themselves. Like, it's a little weird to call up the news station and be like, hi, I'm dropping 50 points a game. Can you come out to one of my games and do a story on me? People aren't going to do that. So I definitely find, like, just befriend everybody, say hi, introduce yourselves, be super engaging. And, let coaches know, like, hey, if anything comes up, you think is kind of special, feel free to give me a call. We'll do our best to come out, because sometimes those things kind of work in your favor. But I think for being a reporter, it's obviously being engaging and like having that personality that, that people are going to want to come to, but also just being caring and kind and being a good person. If it's a tough story, luckily we don't do a lot of that in sports, but just having compassion and empathy for others if it's a difficult story, but also making sure you have the right information and you have your facts straight, and that you're double checking, even when it comes to stats, or, how long a coach has been in the area for, or how long he's led a team for, those kinds of things. If you say one of those wrong, is it the end of the world? No. Does it totally ruin the story? No. But I found, especially for markets like mine, where people are born and raised here and they really don't leave here, they know how long the coach has been there for, and they know probably his record every single year he's been the coach there. And so if I get up and I say, yeah, coach so-and-so has been here for 4 seasons and he's really been here for 5, credit or hurts my credibility a little bit or whatever. So I think overall, just making sure that you're doing everything in your power to make sure the story is correct and has a really important human storytelling aspect.
Yeah, most certainly. And have you been able to balance the whole working in the sports media industry while also still maintaining a social life? Have you been able to do that pretty easily?
Is that a thing? I don't know. I don't
know.
I mean, okay, so here's the thing for me. My boyfriend and I have been together for 7 years, but he still lives in Michigan, or in my first year here, he lived in Chicago. So I have friends here, and I have a lot of people, who I'm friends with in this area, but I don't have, my boyfriend doesn't live down here with me and stuff. So it sounds bad. I have friends and we do things and on the weekends or whatever. But I think if he lived here more, I would force myself to have more of a work-life balance. Whereas if I'm bored on a Saturday night or something, I'm just hanging out at home, does it really matter if I get on and send a couple emails or check some scores or update the website, or do something along those lines? So I don't recommend that by any means. It's probably not really healthy, but I've been seeing a therapist for the last year or so. I realized I have some pretty severe anxiety and got to a point where I couldn't control it, and I didn't know how to fix it. I needed help. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, and it was affecting me at work. And it's a lot of work based actually. And so meeting with her, we started off as once a week. Now we're up to every other week, which I'm pretty proud of. Pat myself on the back. Awesome. But so we have talked, because as I've mentioned, football starts next week and things get really hectic. We preview 40 schools in 3.5 weeks. Plus I'm responsible for building 2 30-minute preview shows. And then we also have a 15-minute long football show every Friday night. So there's a lot on my plate. And her and I have said, we're kind of creating a game plan that of course can be changed at any time, but something of what we want football, or what I want football season to look like for me professionally and personally, and things I can do before it starts to prepare myself for that, and then what it's going to look like once the season starts. And so her and I have decided that I will not be working at all on Saturdays. And then on Sundays, I do, unfortunately, just the way my job is, I have to do a little bit of planning on Sundays especially for what Monday looks like, but then also for what the week looks like. But I have decided that I will turn an hour-long timer or half an hour-long timer on my phone. Whatever I get done in that amount of time is what I get done on Sunday. And after that, I close my laptop and I turn, I also found turning my Twitter notifications off. I don't delete the app. I don't get rid of it. I just turn the notifications off. That makes the world of a difference for me personally. Because I have a lot of alerts for Woj and, Ian Rappaport, every team I cover, all that kind of stuff. I get a lot of notifications from Twitter. And so when I have those off, I almost forget, I'm like, oh, I don't have to go look at that tweet. I don't have to be doing that kind of stuff. So I think that has helped me a lot. And because like I said, I am the type of person that it's like, well, if my laptop's already open or I have the time, who cares if I do this thing really quick or whatever. But for me mentally, and I think for a lot of people, you have to take that time to step back, even if you don't feel like you need to recharge or you need that break for the day or 2 days. It is so crucial for you to then be as good as you can be come Monday morning or whatever your start of the week is.
No, that's amazing. And, I've been doing this series now for a couple of weeks. I've heard a lot of great people, a lot of great advice, but that what you just said right there, like that's probably the best advice I've heard like so far in the series so far. Like seriously, I mean, just like thank you for sharing that, because like it's just so important, to take care of yourself, and then it's a big, like, mental health. It's just such an important thing.
Yeah, and I think too, especially we're seeing a lot of it, and I'm happy about it right now with Simone Biles and what she's done at the Olympics this year, and just more even what Michael Phelps has. Well, he was been a partner with Talkspace, which is a therapy website, a virtual therapy website, for I think going on like 4 or 5 years now. And so when people see athletes like that getting help with their mental health or mental illness, whatever that situation is, I think for me personally, when I first started going to therapy, I was like, I'm not bipolar. Like, I don't have like a quote unquote severe mental illness, like I don't need medication necessarily, but it doesn't mean I don't have a mental health issue. I want help with my mental health. And so it's been a journey for sure. I mean, and I think I luckily haven't seen a lot of it like on my feeds, like my specific feeds, but there's a lot of people that are like, she let her team down. She should have competed. She should have done this. And I literally tweeted, all those people who are saying that have never been in a depressive state or had an anxiety attack or had a quote unquote episode in a professional environment. And that's like, it's like, shut the up. Like, you have I mean, I'll be real honest. There was a football Friday last season. I was just gonna kind of funk, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't like depressed. I think just work was a lot. I was missing my boyfriend, missing my family. And I was just kind of in a funk. And I cried after I have 5 live shots every Friday, or I used to. I cried after every single one. And I in between was also calling my boyfriend, and I was just like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I feel like this. I don't know what's happening. And then I had to get right back up and pretend, like, hey, I'm at this game. Like, this is fun. And it was not fun. I was miserable. And I actually had a buddy of mine, after my live shot, the camera came down and I turned around and I started crying, and he was like, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's happening. And looking back at that, I mean, I wish I would have called off that day, but also I was like, nobody's here to take my place. Like, I kind of have to be here. So I understand that struggle, but I think making yourself a priority, being selfish a little bit in a situation like that, it only can benefit you, and then also the product that you put out for whatever you're doing. So
yeah, no, definitely. That's just great advice. It's so important, and it's something that really everyone needs to, take into consideration when working in the sports media industry or anything in general. So like, what's the end goal for you in the sports media industry? What are you hoping to achieve long term?
It's always such a hard question, because I don't have I think if you would have asked me when I started college that same question, I would have been like, I want to be on ESPN. I want to host SportsCenter. I want to take SVP's job. But now, not that there's anything wrong with ESPN or anything, but I think the world of sports broadcasting and sports media has changed so much. And seeing what people are doing at regional networks or other big networks, or even, being a team reporter for a specific team or a college or whatever that situation is, I want to be happy, and I want to be successful, obviously, like doing what I'm doing. But I also, I don't know, I would ideally maybe want to cover, have a couple pro teams I cover. I would love to cover a D1, especially in football and basketball. But I also, I've talked about it a lot, but I love the relationships I have with high school coaches and players. And I don't think that's ever something I want to give up. So I don't know. I don't know if even that job exists where you could have all 3 of those, but if it is, or if there is something like that out there, I would love to find that. So I don't know, maybe also everybody asks, like, don't you want to go home to Michigan? Don't you want to be closer to your family? It's like, yeah, duh. But I don't know if it means that I'm going to be miserable, maybe I don't want to live in Michigan again. Or if I'm not going to have the career I want or the life I want. It's not to say that I don't love Detroit, because, I will rep Detroit till I die. I have a lot of people who I've met down here that are like, oh, Detroit's really scary. I'm like, you don't know anything about Detroit.
Exactly.
Stop.
Gotta be loyal.
I'm 313 loyal through and through. So
Love that.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I would love to live where it snows all the time. I think I've been a little spoiled since I've lived down here when it comes to that. So I don't know. It's that one, like I said, it's always a real tough question because I have parts of a job or parts of a career that I really want. But like I don't have a specific city or a company. I think also I want to be treated well. I want to work at a company that cares about me, it cares about other humans and people in general, treats their employees well. I would like to obviously to get paid an appropriate amount for the work that I'm doing and all of that kind of stuff, which sometimes a lot of time can be hard to find in the TV industry. So yeah, I think obviously I'm probably gonna have to pick and choose a little bit because I don't know that there is a job that encompasses all of those things. I don't know. Maybe I'll create one. Who knows? But yeah, I think there's parts of jobs that I'm looking towards. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I mean, possibilities are endless. I mean, you've already done some incredible things, and I know you're just gonna keep amazing everybody. So,
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, hoping for the best, of course.
Yeah. No, I have a question for you though before we go.
Yeah, of course.
How did you find out about me?
How did I find out about you? Well,
yeah.
I guess I can reveal it to my audience too. Basically, finding guests for this podcast. I'll look everywhere. There's some people that, I'll reach out to that I'm like, oh, I definitely want to reach out to this person. But through LinkedIn, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. That's just like a
right. Cause that's where you messaged me from. So cool.
Yeah. So yeah. Very, very awesome. But before we do end this interview officially, Remi, I do want to ask you some rapid fire questions if you're up for it.
Ooh, okay. Hold on. Let me get.
Yeah. Get position,
Okay.
Let's do it.
I'm ready.
I do this in basically every interview, and I'm hoping that you can like set a record here.
Oh, are we timing it too?
I could time it if you'd like.
Hold on, I'll do it. You want me to do it?
Yeah, please.
How long?
I'm gonna give you 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me turn my ringer up so we'll hear it when it goes off. All
right.
right. Ready?
3 minutes on the clock. Let's do it.
3, 2, 1, go.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Invisibility.
What's one food you can't live without?
Vegetables.
What kind of vegetable?
I don't know. I like all kinds of vegetables. I'm weird, but I hate cheese. So I like carrots a lot. Carrots and mustard. I don't know, that's a weird combo, but okay.
Okay, cool. What's one city that you have never been to, but you like to visit at some point in your life?
Boston.
Nice. What are your 3 favorite hobbies to do?
Golf. I've gotten into reading again, which I used to do when I was in high school and that I really love. And just spending time with my boyfriend or my family.
Very cool. What's your favorite genre of music?
I listen to everything. Like literally, if you were to mix my Spotify, it's like pop, country, rap, Broadway, like film scores. I listen to everything. It just depends on my mood.
What was your favorite and least favorite subject in school growing up?
Oh my God. Math was the freaking worst. I got a 1 point in stats in college and I don't care. I will tell that story any day. That's a different story. But either English or history, but probably history.
Very cool. What's your favorite quote of all time?
Nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent by Eleanor Roosevelt.
Love that. That's awesome. Let's see here. Describe yourself using just one word.
Energetic.
I think that's pretty noticeable. in a great way, of course.
Oh gosh.
Your favorite place to shop?
Oh, what are we shopping for?
Anything? Let's say anything.
Target.
Target. Yeah, Target's got a little bit of everything, which is
we love Target. Yeah.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
People who like don't listen to what other people are saying, if that makes sense. Like when somebody's trying to like explain something to you and they're just like not even bothering to listen. I don't know why, but that really grinds my gears. So
first sporting event you ever attended?
Probably it was a Tigers game. I don't know when, probably like first or second grade.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Well, it depends on the time of year. Right now, I'm a night owl, but next week I'll probably be a morning person because we got to get up for 2 days. But I work night side, 2 to 11, so typically night.
Nice. Most memorable vacation of all time.
Ooh. My senior trip in high school was a cruise. That was really fun. But my boyfriend and I just went to Florida, and it was the first vacation, just the two of us. So that was really fun also.
Very cool.
Mhm.
If you could be any animal, what animal would you be?
Tiger. Oh,
All
there
right.
we go.
There we go. You did a great job.
I think that was a lot. I wish I would have kept track.
That was awesome. I do have one more for you, though.
Okay.
Last one, untimed. What's one fun fact a lot of people do not know about you?
Oh, I never have a really good answer for this question.
But if you weren't doing sports media, like what would you be doing?
I love true crime. So I'd probably be like a criminal investigator or detective or something.
Cool.
But my other kind of like weird fun fact is that it's not really fun, but I had hip reconstructive surgery when I was 16. And so I had to have my hip like shaved down, and I had screws in my hip, and I had to learn how to walk again.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad you were able to learn how to walk again.
I know, awesome. Again, not really a fun fact, but it's really like, it's one of the biggest kind of moments in my life and stuff.
Definitely.
And so, I still
proud of.
Also weirdly have the screws that were in my hip. I have them in a baggie. They're at my parents' house. Embarrassing, but oh well.
Oh, very, very cool. All right, Remi. Well, thank you so much again for coming on the podcast today. Seriously, you were just a fantastic guest.
Oh, thanks.
You kept it real. I mean,
I had fun.
You were so fun. So fun.
Yeah.
So I know everyone's going to love this. Yeah, of course. Thank you again for coming on.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, fellas, that was a sports student interview with Remi Monaghan. Another big shout out to Remi for coming on the podcast today. She was such an incredible guest to have on, and I already know she's going to do some incredible things in the sports media industry down the line. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications so you do not miss a single new episode of a sports student interview. But that'll do it for today's podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it as always, and I will see you guys in my next one. All right, y'all, take care. Sports student signing out. Peace.